Welcome to Hey Dr. Sue. So people submit their sex questions to me anonymously, and once a week I post one question and one answer. Do you have a sex question you've always wanted answered? Go ahead and check out the description for information on how to submit it anonymously. This week's question wasn't so much a question, just a statement. And the statement was, my body count bothers me. I wanted to make sure I addressed this because, quite honestly, this isn't the first time I've gotten something like this, either at a live event or online. When I bring this kind of thing up in class, my students usually say that the answer is, if your body count bothers you, just lie about it. The problem is that's not really an answer. Lying about it doesn't really change it, and more importantly, it doesn't change how you feel about it. The problem here is that I don't know if the person is bothered because it's too high or too low. So let me give some suggestions for both situations. If the body count is too high, if you're bothered by the body count being too high, ask yourself why you think it's too high. Is it too high compared to others? Well, I could give you some numbers on what the average number of sexual partners is based on age and gender. Those numbers aren't always so accurate for many reasons. Not everyone defines sexual partner the same way. For some, it's how many people you've had penile and vaginal intercourse with. But what about oral sex or anal sex? I've had some pretty religious students in my class who say that when they kiss someone, they would consider it part of their number. Another reason why that number isn't so accurate is because sometimes people forget what they did. If you just started being sexually active, however you define that, maybe that number is easy to figure out. But if you've been sexually active for years or decades, you might not remember every person you were with. Throw in the fact that if you were under the influence, your memory may not be spot on. The last reason why those numbers aren't so accurate is that people may lie. They may inflate their number because they want to seem more experienced, or might lower their number because they feel embarrassed or afraid that they're being judged. Oh, and we don't include gender diverse folks in most of our research, so there's a serious lack of data for anyone who identifies as trans or gender non-binary or gender fluid. This can be good because you may not feel pressure based on other people's numbers if you identify off the binary, but it's also bad because it's just another example of how sex research hasn't always been so inclusive. The bottom line is that before you start comparing yourself to numbers that you read from an online source or even friends, keep in mind that those numbers aren't a great tool for comparison. Are you bothered by the number because someone made you feel bad for it being too high? If so, I'd be a little concerned about who that person is and why they're in your life. I often hear about this reaction from two types of people. One is a potential partner. So let me ask you this. Do you really want to be with someone who's going to judge you for your past? Isn't that a bit of a red flag? The other type of people that I hear about are healthcare workers. I've worked with everyone from college-age folks to people in their 80s, and regardless of age, I've heard stories about how judgmental some healthcare workers are. They've told me about how they felt judged and shamed, and if you can't be honest with a healthcare worker because you're afraid of being judged and humiliated, please find another provider. If you're bothered by your number because it reflects choices you've made that you're not happy with, then that's a whole different thing. It's easy to judge ourselves after the fact. Maybe you shouldn't have been sexually active with person A, but doing so in the moment felt good and it helped meet a need. Be gentle with yourself when looking back at what you did, but also try to use those past decisions to help you make better choices in the future. If you feel good in the moment when you hook up with someone, but shame and embarrassment after, then really you need to decide which is more important to you, the pleasure in the moment or the feeling after. And ask yourself this, is there a way to have both? Is there a way to get your needs met without doing something that you'll feel bad about later on? Now let's talk about what happens if your body count is too low. I would start with the same question I asked earlier about too high, which is who you're comparing yourself to and are those numbers accurate? If a potential partner is making fun of you because your number is too low, then again, is that someone you really want to be with? If it's about your lack of experience and desire to be with more people, what's standing in your way of doing that? Is it lack of potential partners? Do you get nervous or afraid when getting close to someone, either emotionally or physically? Do you feel that you're struggling to find someone you click with, that you would feel comfortable having sex with? Some people are afraid of being judged by a partner if they're sexually inexperienced, and that makes them shy away from sexual activity. Some people have had sexual trauma, and getting close with someone triggers them. Once you figure out what some of the barriers may be, it can make it easier to address them. But I would encourage you to stop comparing yourself to others. It's not going to make you feel any better about yourself while you figure things out. Here's the bottom line. I'd love to say, just forget the number. And honestly, if the phrase body count disappeared, I wouldn't be sad. But I'd love to say that and just say you be you. But the bottom line is just that how we think about body count is heavily influenced by the people and the culture around us. And sadly, the double standard of men being praised for high body count, women being shamed from it, hasn't really changed all that much. This can lead to shame and judgment from others, all based on a number. Like, does that even seem right? Before you get too bothered by your body count, here's what I want you to do. Ask yourself why you feel bad and what you can do to make yourself more comfortable with who you are and the choices that you make. Until next time, be safe and have fun. Did you like that video? If so, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll know when new videos come out. Also check out the description to find out how to find me on Instagram, Medium, and Twitter. And make sure to check the description for links where you can submit your sex question.